Next on CBS News 8 at 5, the man accused of killing a pregnant Marine wife appears before a judge in Alaska as we learn new details.
Police uncover a plot to kill teachers and students at a Southern California high school. I'm Danielle Nottingham in South Pasadena, California, with the latest on the investigation.
And torrential rains cause massive flooding in the Phoenix area, damaging homes and trapping motorists. CBS News 8 at 5 starts right now.
You're watching San Diego's breaking news leader. This is CBS News 8 at 5.
Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Barbara Lee Edwards.
And I'm Marcella Lee in for Carlo Cicchetto. A 24-year-old former Marine is formally charged tonight with killing 19-year-old Erin Corwin, a Marine wife who was pregnant.
Christopher Brandon Lee appeared before a judge in Alaska 2 days after being arrested in connection with Corwin's death. Her body was found in an abandoned mine shaft near 29 Palms 2 months after she disappeared.
CBS News 8's Matt Johnson is in our newsroom tonight with the new details he learned today. Matt?
Barbara Lee and Marcella, this arrest affidavit just came into our newsroom within the last hour, and in it are new details about why authorities believe they have their killer. It claims Christopher Lee searched online for how to dispose of a human body and also lists specific evidence that links him to Erin Corwin's murder. New details are emerging in the death of Erin Corwin, a 19-year-old Marine wife whose body was found on Saturday inside of a 140-foot mine shaft. Her accused killer is 24-year-old Christopher Lee, and authorities say he murdered his mistress because he thought she was pregnant with his child. An arrest warrant claims Lee admitted to conducting internet searches regarding how to dispose of a human body. It goes on to accuse Lee of being the last person to see Corwin alive on June 28th. The warrant claims Lee was collecting tires on the morning of Corwin's disappearance. When her body was found inside of the Rose of Peru mining district, authorities found a tire along with .22 caliber fired cartridge casings and pieces of rebar. Detectives then matched the cartridges found near the body with cartridges found in Lee's vehicle at home. They also believe Lee's Jeep left tire marks near where Corwin's car was found on June 30th in 29 Palms. The former Marine was arrested on Sunday night in Anchorage, Alaska, where he had been living with his family after leaving the military. He and his wife were the next-door neighbors to the Corwin couple on the 29 Palms Marine base. Murder charges were filed against Christopher Lee on Tuesday by the San Bernardino County District Attorney's Office. The DA also filed a special circumstance allegation of lying in wait, meaning Lee is accused of hiding at some point before ambushing and killing Corwin. That special circumstance increases Lee's chances of receiving life without parole or the death penalty if convicted. The San Bernardino County District Attorney released a statement that reads, quote, "Once again, we are faced with a terrible crime that shows absolutely no regard for the value of human life. Make no mistake that this office will fight to see that justice is carried out for our victim and her family." Now, Corwin's cause of death had not been officially announced pending the results of the autopsy. Up next for Christopher Lee is extradition back to California, but that could take between 4 and 6 weeks depending on how cooperative he is. Now, he was in court this afternoon in Alaska, and we're learning more details about what happened there. We hope to have new information and the very latest on that coming up at 6:30. Back to you.
All right, Matt, thank you. Closing arguments are underway in the trial against a man accused of attacking a woman on a trail in Balboa Park. Prosecutors say 21-year-old Amin Bryant chased the woman down and was going to rape her before being scared away by other joggers. Bryant testified yesterday that he was trying to steal the woman's cell phone to trade for drugs, a story prosecutors are urging the jury not to buy.
Because his intent wasn't to get her cell phone. It was to rape her. It was to be in control of her, to dominate her, to get on top of her. And that's what he did.
But is that really supported by the evidence? As many times as the prosecution wants to say it, it doesn't mean that it's true. Don't be...
Bryant faces 12 years in prison if convicted on attempted rape charges. San Diego police are looking for a man who robbed a convenience store wearing a clown mask. Police say that he entered a 7-Eleven on Convoy Street in Kearny Mesa at about 1:30 this morning waving a black revolver. He got away with cash. Investigators believe it's the same man who robbed a gas station in Morena and another 7-Eleven in Linda Vista dressed in a clown mask within the past 2 weeks.
Trial began today for a caregiver accused of killing an 89-year-old Rancho Bernardo man and stealing his money. 47-year-old Denise Goodwin is charged in the death of Gerald Rayburn. Goodwin was hired to care for Rayburn's ailing wife. CBS News 8's Dominic Garcia is live downtown with what he learned in court today. Dom?
Marcella, this is an interesting case. Goodwin faces a number of charges that include murder and also theft. Now, as far as that theft charge, her own lawyer says that there is evidence that points to that. But as for the murder charge, he jumped all over that one.
As Denise Goodwin sat in court, the prosecution painted her as a woman who targeted older men. In fact, they said the 47-year-old had been on several dating sites geared towards men in their golden years.
She contacted 15 elderly men on this website, aging from 68 to 90 years. Just like a burglar, casing homes for his next break-in.
But they say it was as a caregiver where she met 89-year-old Gerald Rayburn and his 91-year-old wife, Carolyn. She died in 2011, and prosecutors say afterwards she zeroed in on their money.
She had found her golden goose. She no longer needed to be a caregiver. She had convinced Gerald Rayburn that she could help him with his finances.
Prosecutors say she would end up draining his bank accounts of more than $500,000. Rayburn would go missing a month after his wife died, and Goodwin now stands accused of killing him. Her lawyer had an interesting defense.
We're not going to try to say she's an angel. She wasn't an angel in this case. She was someone who had a plan to execute a theft.
He says there was a plan to go after the money, but murder, it's just not in her.
It's her reputation in the community, among the people that know her, that she's totally nonviolent.
And then there's the question of evidence. There was none for the murder of Gerald Rayburn. 3 years later, his body still hasn't been found.
They checked her car. They checked the house of Potosi, as well as her house. No evidence of foul play, of someone being killed. There was nothing.
And the prosecution said the absence of a body is not evidence of innocence, but evidence of guilt. And when we just left, Rayburn's own daughter was on the stand. She said it was clear her father trusted Goodwin, even though he really didn't know her. Back to you.
All right, Tom, thanks. If convicted, Goodwin faces life in prison without parole.
A strategic dam in northern Iraq is back in the hands of Kurdish forces tonight.
Iraqi and Kurdish forces reclaimed the dam from Islamic militants with the help of U.S. airstrikes. Now, Iraqi forces are fighting to drive ISIS fighters out of Tikrit, where militants have imposed their own Islamic laws and are threatening religious minorities. The United Nations estimates at least 600,000 refugees have been displaced since the fighting began.
Archers. That's a decent shot anyway.
Right now, several dozen people have gathered in El Cajon to march for peace in Iraq. This is a live picture of the demonstration from Chopper 8. The walk started at St. Michael's Chaldean Catholic Church and will end at Centennial Plaza. Several local leaders are expected to speak about ISIS's recent attacks on religious minorities in Iraq.
2 high school students are under arrest tonight, accused of plotting a mass shooting on campus. South Pasadena police say the boys were targeting specific staff members and planned to kill as many students as they could. Daniel Nottingham explains how officers were able to intervene.
Police say a 17 and 16-year-old were hatching a plan to massacre students and teachers at South Pasadena High School.
They had identified 3 staff members at the school by name that they were targeting, along with some random students, as they called it. They just wanted to, as they put it, they just wanted to kill as many people as possible.
A community member tipped off school officials, who then alerted police about the 2 teenagers last Thursday. Detectives began following the boys' internet and social media activity. Police confiscated the boys' computers from their homes and arrested the 2 on Monday. Officers found no target date for the alleged attack or weapons, but they discovered the teens had done extensive research on various weapons and tactics.
And later on, during our investigative interviews with the suspects, they more or less confirmed what they had talked about very cold-heartedly.
Classes will start at South Pasadena High School this Thursday as planned. Police say they will step up their presence here at the high school and other campuses in the district. Freshman Jackson Tottleben is shocked that it happened in his community.
I didn't actually kind of believe it at first, because it you see it all over the news, but you don't really think it'll happen at your school.
The FBI is assisting police in their investigation. Danielle Nottingham, CBS News, South Pasadena, California.
Heavy rains continue to soak parts of Arizona, and now the state is experiencing severe flooding. Some areas of the state were pummeled with more than 4 inches of rain overnight, causing freeway shutdowns and flight delays. Crews rescued 2 residents and 3 dogs from a home about 30 miles north of Phoenix. Rescuers also came to the help of multiple drivers stranded in the raging waters, including this elderly woman. Today's heavy rains hit an area already swamped during a storm last week, and meteorologists say there is more rain in store later this week. Let's check on our traffic now. Joe Eager is live in Shop right over the 8 in La Mesa. Joe?
We're just hitting the 125 connector, and traffic looks good here. The 8's not a bad ride at all in the East County. A little bit busy, though, as you leave the Mission Valley area. Looking down at the 125, though, a little bit of a struggle leaving the 8 connector, headed southbound. And northbound has been a real busy this afternoon, real busy ride north 125 from the 94 up toward Lemon Avenue. In the meantime, as we check out the maps in North County, busy in North 5 through Del Mar into Encinitas. And again from Leucadia to Cannon. Northbound 15, just a slight delays, Camino del Norte on and off to Rancho Bernardo Road. And East 78 getting busier now, Sycamore to Twin Oaks Valley Road. Also downtown, there was an earlier accident, South 5, just before the 94. Traffic is a little bit backed up from the Washington Street, getting from the airport down through the S-curve. And again, here's a look outside of the connector. South 125 at the 8, pretty heavy there. So that's a check on traffic. I'll send it back to you in this.
All right, Deb, thanks. Coming up, a special program that allows deploying military personnel to read children's books their kids can watch back on DVD.
Plus, see what happens when an earthquake hits during a morning TV show in Oklahoma.
More demonstrations in Ferguson, where emotions are still raw after the fatal police shooting of Michael Brown. I'm Marley Hall in Ferguson, Missouri, with the latest coming up.
And some unsettled weather has entered San Diego's forecast. Your 8-day microclimate forecast details are on the way.
Following another night of violent protests, people were back out in the streets of Ferguson, Missouri today for a peaceful demonstration.
Meanwhile, Attorney General Eric Holder is getting ready to travel to Ferguson tomorrow to get an update on the investigation of the fatal shooting that sparked those protests more than a week ago. Marley Hall reports.
Demonstrators marched peacefully near the command center in Ferguson, Missouri. Longtime resident Walter Rice says he can't believe the violence that has come to this St. Louis suburb.
I've never experienced nothing like this. And I've seen unrest around the world, but I never thought it would be here in my hometown.
The peaceful protest follows another night of unrest. Police say some in the crowd fired guns at officers, threw Molotov cocktails and batteries. Among those arrested are people from as far away as New York and California. The chaos first erupted 10 days ago when an unarmed teenager named Michael Brown was shot and killed by police officer Darren Wilson. This Facebook photo shows an Officer D. Wilson receiving an award earlier this year. Many of the stores along this stretch near the center of the unrest have boarded up windows. Most are open today, but owners say business is down about 70% since protests started. Sonny Dion put American flags on his looted store.
I'm hoping to stay here. I've been here for 18 years. There's no reason that I wouldn't stay, you know. I love the community.
Attorney General Eric Holder travels to Ferguson tomorrow to get an update on the federal investigation into Brown's death. And a grand jury could begin hearing evidence tomorrow to determine whether to bring charges against the officer. Marley Hall, CBS News, Ferguson, Missouri.
An earthquake rattled some news anchors in Oklahoma as their studio started shaking while they were live on the air.
How healthy would that be? Earthquake! Wait, it's still going. Look, go up to the lights. Amy, quick.
Oh, sorry. It's still going,
See,
guys.
they're shaking?
You can see it shaking a little right there. Emily Sutton and Lacey Lett of KAUT-TV felt the magnitude 4.2 earthquake that hit near Guthrie this morning. There are no reports of any injuries or damage.
Now, your microclimate forecast presented by Lexus Escondido. Here's meteorologist Matt Balo.
We had an earthquake hit on Easter Sunday a few years back, and I was at work, and it looks a lot worse in person than it does on TV.
Were you that cool about it? Because they were pretty calm and relaxed.
I was freaking out a little bit.
You know, with that one, you should have been, because it was quite long. I mean, when that happened here, you knew that somebody had some serious damage somewhere.
Right.
But there was a 7.2, I think it was. So thankfully, nothing like that right now. Some nice weather out there. In fact, we are looking for some pleasant conditions this evening, and then some unsettled weather is on the way for San Diego as we head towards the middle part of the week. However, until that time, conditions outside right now, very nice. These are pictures from earlier today. This is from up at Palomar Mountain. You're looking off towards the northwest there, and you'll notice some of the clouds. A little bit of that marine layer. Very early this morning, that disappeared, of course, and then plenty of sunshine up in the mountains and every place else by midday. That sunshine still out there at the moment, although the low clouds are starting to try to get going right along the coastline, and temperatures today cooler around the county, and considerably so. Yesterday, probably the warmest day of the week, as things getting cooler today by 4 to 8 degrees. Even here at 5 o'clock, it's cooler along the coastline, inland as well, especially up in the mountains and out in the desert. All that cooler weather is due to some onshore flow. It's giving us some pretty decent visibility right now. That's a live picture from our News 8 Skycam. 72 is the temperature. The wind out of the west at 7. That relative humidity, that's currently at 54%, and the barometer falling. But temperatures, as I mentioned, cooler than yesterday, and right now mostly in the low 70s along the coastline, mid to upper 70s inland, some low 70s out in the desert too. Nothing out there on the radar at the moment, but that might be changing by tomorrow. Low pressure is just off the coast of Monterey. This area of low pressure is coming down the coastline right now. It's giving us that nice onshore flow, and that's helping to dry things out in terms of the atmosphere. We don't have the thunderstorms out in the desert or the mountains that we had yesterday. In addition, that's giving us that stronger onshore flow, which is also cooling things off a little bit. But as that low pressure makes its way over San Diego's skies, and that should happen during the day tomorrow night into Thursday morning, that's going to create some instability, and we're looking for the potential of an isolated thunder shower here or there. Heavy rain is not expected. In fact, most people won't see any rain at all, but you might see some lightning strikes with this area of low pressure as it passes by. Temperatures with the partly cloudy skies, it should stay in the mid-70s tomorrow, and then things are going to warm up once again towards the end of the week. Back into the low 80s by Friday, 70s for the weekend. Most inland microclimate neighborhoods mostly in the mid-80s tomorrow, but then low 90s for Thursday and Friday, and then warming back up well into the 90s next week. In fact, next week that humidity is coming back, so overnight lows are going to get a little more uncomfortable. It'll be in the low 70s up in the coastal area there, mainly close to 70 degrees for most inland microclimate neighborhoods. Now the desert and up in the mountains, well, the risk of thunderstorms tomorrow as well, but otherwise partly cloudy skies and temperatures warming up as we get towards the end of the week, but it is August after all, so you should expect a little bit of that.
Nice breeze today, too.
Should be. It was a very nice breeze today. Maybe not so much tomorrow. We'll see.
Okay.
All right.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Thanks, Matt. It's never easy for kids in military families to see a parent head off on a long deployment.
But a special USO program is making sure mom or dad is now able to read to them a bedtime story. CBS News 8 photojournalist Bruce Patch shows us how United Through Reading helps kids keep a special bond with their parents even while they're a half a world away.
Good morning, kids. It's Daddy. Currently deployed out to sea, undisclosed location, but everything is good. I'm gonna read you guys a book today, so I hope you're being good for Mommy. Ryan, Annalie, Luana, and Emlyn. Chester the raccoon stood at the edge of the forest. Having them be there in person and to read to them a book is so much more. And I realize that when I see her reading to the kids at night or when I get to read to them at night. And if you need a renewed kiss from Mommy, she'll give the kisses again.
This program made it very exciting because now he can be a part of it while he's deployed, so the kids can still see him and hear him anytime they want.
A secret? What kind of secret?
This is really about connecting, those parents connecting with their kids while they're so far away. Families that are separated for 18 months or more, you know, the dad comes back and the kids don't remember or aren't sure. But if they've been watching dad every day and read to him, it's a whole different ballgame when that guy comes off the ship.
When they feel lonely or they're missing me, they're going to be able to go to the books or the DVD and read along with me, so they'll feel like I'm there.
Since we love reading so much, it'll be a lot of fun to have him read the books to us.
Poor Peter was lost.
I can see how excited the kids get to see him, and that makes me happy because I know that they're excited.
The very hungry caterpillar.
That he's still part of their normal routine.
For their upbringing, it's the world of wonder that opens up, so they know that their parent cares and loves them and can be there for them. Daddy misses you. I hope you guys are being good to Mommy. I miss you. I love you. Be good.
That is so sweet. For more information on the reading program, just log on to CBS8.com and click on the Hot button.
Just a little something to keep in mind next time you read to one of your kids. It's a very special time. Don't take it for granted. Yeah. Well, airlines brace for possible travel delays due to the potential eruption of a volcano in Iceland.
That's still ahead on CBS News 8 at 5. And Grammy Award winner Jason Mraz, whose career started right here in San Diego, is honored by the city.
And next, it's all about the girls as LEGO introduces its first ever all-female scientist set. But first, strong earnings help send stocks higher.
Here's a look at today's closing numbers from Wall Street. We like the story. It has taken longer than some would have liked, but LEGO has just launched its first ever all-female scientist set.
The set was inspired by a 7-year-old girl who actually wrote the company, complaining about the lack of professional female figures. Samuel Burke takes a look.
The construction worker, the city businessman, a pilot. All professionals, all male Legos.
In the past, if you wanted a professional lady Lego, well, you had to build it yourself.
Now LEGO's released a new set called Research Institute, featuring a scientist, an astronomer, even a paleontologist, and all female. The set was released after 7-year-old Charlotte Benjamin noticed a gender discrepancy, and her letter of complaint to LEGO caused an internet sensation. She wrote,
"All the girls did was sit at home, go to the beach and the shops, and had no jobs."
While the boy figures
went on adventures, worked, saved people, and had jobs, even swam with sharks.
LEGO says it was already developing the new Lady Lego at the time of the letter. Scientist Ellen Kujiman first submitted the idea for an all-female Lego set to the company's website in 2012. She also felt there was
a rather stereotypical representation of the available female figures.
Now, professional Lady Legos are taking their rightful place amongst the men, and leaders say they're creating new role models.
I think it sends that message that actually the world's your oyster for girls as well as for boys. Whatever they're interested in, whatever they want to do is something they should aspire to, rather than suggesting that certain jobs or careers are for boys and other jobs and careers are for girls.
At this Lego shop in England, you'll still find the fireman rescuing the lady's cat stuck in the tree. And of course, bad cop. But after Charlotte sent this letter in, demand for the new Lady Lego has been so high that you won't find it anywhere in this shop or even on the Lego website. Sold out, and they say it won't be back for weeks. So until then, you'll just have to settle for something else. Samuel Burt, CNN, London.
Just got us talking about how much we love Lego, as much as our kids almost.
Exactly.
So
We
much
both
fun.
have a boy and a girl, and so now there's stuff for both of them.
I have some important information to help keep you and your family healthy coming up in this week's What's Going Around report.
Also coming up, a terrible scene as 2 Italian Air Force jets collide in midair.
And a moment of silence is planned tonight for an 8-year-old Poway girl who fell to her death at the Yellowstone National Park over the weekend. I'm Jeff Sevely. That story's coming up in a live report.
You're watching San Diego's breaking news leader. This is CBS News 8 at 5.
Welcome back. I'm Barbara Lee Edwards.
And I'm Marcella Lee in for Carlo Cicchetto. School officials in Poway are preparing for a somber beginning of the new school year tomorrow after an 8-year-old Pomerado Elementary School student fell to her death in Yellowstone National Park over the weekend.
CBS News 8's Jeff Sevely is live in Poway tonight with what school officials are doing to help students and staff cope with this loss. Jeff?
Barbara Lee, tomorrow morning when Zara's classmates come back from summer break, their first day at elementary school, grief counselors will be standing by. In the meantime, I went to the family's home today in Poway and spoke to a family friend. He told me the family right now is too upset to talk about this tragedy. They're on their way home from Wyoming and will most likely make a statement when they arrive. The first day back to school is expected to be a sad one for elementary school classmates of Zara Alayari.
It can really vary at a young age.
Dr. David Reese, a private practice psychiatrist who specializes in grief, says it'll be helpful for counselors to meet with Zara's classmates if they need to talk.
The children are going to probably find out one way or another, especially these days, even the youngest kids who have phones and are on the media, Twitter, Facebook.
Zara was an 8-year-old heading into the 4th grade at Pomerado Elementary. On Sunday, she died after falling 550 feet into the Grand Canyon at Yellowstone National Park.
We were able to go down into the canyon utilizing a helicopter and remove her body.
The park spokesman says Zara was walking on the brink of the lower falls with family members when she fell.
There are some areas that are paved, some of it is dirt and gravel.
The popular trail has railings and posted warning signs. Zara's death is the 3rd this summer in Yellowstone. One man drowned, another was killed by a falling tree.
This is really a very rare circumstance.
Zara's principal says the 8-year-old was a bright and promising student, adding, "I ask you to join the staff and students of Pomerado Elementary School, as well as the entire family of Powell Unified School District, in keeping her family and friends in your thoughts and prayers." As for Dr. Reese, he says even though Wednesday is the first day back to class, the sooner Zara's classmates are told accurate information, the better.
To avoid confusion and fear.
As you can see behind me, we are at the Powell Unified School District headquarters tonight, where a board meeting is scheduled to start at 6 o'clock, and they will have a moment of silence in Zara's honor at 6 o'clock. We'll have that story for you, new at 6:30, Barbara Lee.
All right, Jeff, thank you. Zara had 2 siblings, a brother and a sister. Grief counselors will be available for students through the week and beyond, if necessary.
2 Italian fighter jets collided over eastern Italy today, triggering a raging forest fire.
Witnesses reported seeing 2 military planes flying low and then burst into flames and fall out of the sky. The wreckage landed in a heavily wooded area, lighting several acres on fire. Italian military officials say the 2 pilots ejected and no one on the ground was hurt.
Iceland is warning airlines about a potential volcanic eruption that could shut down Europe's airspace. Thousands of small earthquakes are rocking Iceland's largest volcanic region, leading the country to upgrade its eruption warning to the 2nd highest level. 4 years ago, a volcano spewed a cloud of ash that led to the cancellation of more than 100,000 flights, affecting millions of travelers.
The Navy's Pacific commanders spoke to the San Diego Military Advisory Council today.
Admiral Samuel Locklear is the senior U.S. military authority in the Pacific. He spoke about the challenges facing the Navy, including looming budget cuts. He also highlighted how the Navy can adapt to the changing face of conflict around the world.
You know, we certainly need to reshape our military for this century. It needs to be more agile. It needs to be more technically competent. It needs to be more lethal. It needs to be more sophisticated. So we can't be stuck in the past on our prior image of what our military needs, what should look like, because it won't position us well for the future. The most significant.
Locklear says the Navy is currently in the process of repositioning 60% of its forces to the Asia Pacific. It is time now to check traffic. Joe Eager is live in Chopper 8 near the 5 and the 8. Hi, Joe.
Hi there. Traffic looking pretty good in the area. Just emerging traffic trying to get past the 5 connector on the 8. But once you get past Hotel Circle, it's up to speed. And then a few brake lights out of the Mission Valley area from the 805 continuing out toward Waring Road. Looking good in the East County, though. Hasn't been too bad of a commute on the 52 either. A little bit bumper-to-bumper traffic past the 15 connector. And then slow as you head from the Summit on and off into the Santee area. North County busy. North 5 through Del Mar into Encinitas, and from Leucadia to Cannon. Getting reports of an accident north 15, a motorcycle involved. This is right near the 76 connector. A bit busy eastbound 78 as you head from Sycamore, and that continues to Twin Oaks Valley. Again, we're over the 5 and the 8 connector. That's a check on traffic. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks, Joe. You know, when we think of allergy symptoms, things like a runny nose, maybe watery eyes, usually come to mind, but the Council of Community Clinics says that for many people, that irritation is more widespread. Here's this week's What's Going Around report. In East San Diego, Dr. Teresa Mogilnicki of the Sequan Medical Dental Clinic has been treating patients for contact dermatitis. This is a skin reaction similar to an allergy that leaves a rash.
Symptoms include dry, bumpy skin, blisters, itching, redness, and inflammation, and the treatment includes cortisone cream, an antihistamine, and a humidifier to keep the air moist. In North San Diego, Dr. Kelly Modadel of the Vista Community Clinic continues to see cases of pertussis, also known as whooping cough. This highly contagious bacterial disease can cause an uncontrollable violent cough that produces a barking sound. Other symptoms include a runny nose, slight fever, and diarrhea. While antibiotics may shorten the duration, doctors recommend a preventative childhood vaccine. In South San Diego, Dr. James Ceballos of the San Isidro Health Center has been seeing cases of viral gastroenteritis, also known as the stomach flu. In Central San Diego, Dr. Javier Rodriguez of La Maestra Community Health Centers is reporting more of the same. The symptoms include a fever, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. The best treatment for stomach flu is plenty of rest and lots of fluids, but children should be given those fluids in small amounts to avoid further nausea and vomiting. And that does it for this week's What's Going Around.
Mayor Kevin Faulconer is recognizing the work of a musician who has called San Diego home for 15 years. Faulconer proclaimed today to be Jason Mraz Day here in San Diego. The mayor recognized Mraz for his dedication to San Diego schools and organic farming in the county.
And we wanted to say special thanks to Jason, not only for obviously the music that he brings and what he means to people all across the country and the world, but what he does offstage as well, and how proud we are as San Diegans of Jason.
The mayor also gave Mraz a signed set of guitar picks. Yes, the mayor signed them and called them the first ever mayoral guitar picks, which the musician plans to use on his world tour that kicks off later this week at the San Diego Civic Theater. So you'll see when Jason's playing the guitar, he's got Mayor Faulconer's signature on those.
It's one of my favorites. I love Jason Mraz, just great. Well, as young people across the country head off to college, schools are using some new technology to keep students safe.
Karen Kafa looks at how cell phones and apps are being used to maintain a safe and secure environment.
At a school like Georgetown University, academics are always top of mind. But on an urban campus, student body president Trevor Tizell says there's another priority as well.
I think students are always aware of campus safety. They understand that we're living in a city and that entails certain things.
This fall, Georgetown will start using an app called Live Safe, which allows students to report on-campus emergencies with the tap of a smartphone, an act with which they're fairly comfortable.
And they're really nervous about a situation, but they can't really tell what to do, and it doesn't feel worthy of calling the police. And so what the app has done is it's really lowered barriers to sharing.
LiveSafe is just one of several campus security apps utilizing a generation's fast adoption of mobile technology. CEO Jenny Abramson says there's a crowdsourcing element too, helping fellow students steer clear of potentially dicey situations.
We find that people are willing to send in information, put it on a map, and help each other be safer, both user to user and then user to group. And really our goal is to do both.
Other apps used by colleges include Emergency, which lets users pre-select a contact list, share a GPS location, and stream video of potential incidents, among other functions. And Rave Guardian, which also features a panic button for communication with campus police.
I think what this does is recognize the changing nature of how we interact with each other and addresses the safety component of that.
Making students more active participants in safety with a device they always have on hand. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Next, a trip through Larry Himmel's neighborhood.
Tonight, enjoying a summer day at Lake Poway.
I'm Larry Himmel. Summer may be winding down in San Diego, but it's still in full swing here at Lake Poway. The story coming up right here, CBS News 8.
And although summer may be winding down, summer's weather is not. Your 8-day microclimate forecast update is on the way.
As summer heads down the home stretch, folks are finding time to enjoy some of San Diego's sweet spots.
And today, our Larry Himmel found an active group of playmates making the most out of the day on the shores of Lake Poway.
Hundreds of years before Spanish settlers discovered that Poway would be a heck of a place for a rodeo, the Degano Indians, direct descendants of the Kumeyaay, roamed the 55 miles of trails that surrounded this simmering centerpiece. Native Americans would take respite in the shade, stretch out in the poison oak, and wait for the arrival of the city and the country in 1980. Today, Lake Poway still offers an oasis, a thriving watercolor portrait of pristine preservation, a breezy day on a boatless lake, the backdrop for a duck dynasty.
Poway is such a really nice area, and you know, it's free to come out here, feed the ducks.
Sentiment that reverberates through the hills.
It's our last day of summer, so we had to come out and do this. We couldn't let summer end without coming to feed the ducks at the lake.
There are some fine ruffled feathers to be seen and heard here.
We've seen 3 bald eagles in one go, and you'll hear a yellowthroat.
The Lakeside Hiking Trail offers a chance to bond with your best friend.
I live right up here, and I walk around the lake every day with Rocky. It's about a 6-mile hike.
Daddy? It's an idyllic destination for dads with days off.
Oh, this is perfect. I mean, especially with the lake, and there's actually water in it.
Yeah, water, California, who'd have thought that?
Yeah, exactly.
The faint drumming of a fleeting summer, the ancient echoes of our ancestry are ever present here.
That's great. Beautiful. Yeah. Everything about Poway is beautiful. The climate, everything about it. Best place in the world to live.
Folks are loyal to Lake Poway. It's a legacy filled with history and beauty, which lie far beyond the beaten path. Larry Himmel, CBS News 8.
Now, your microclimate forecast presented by Lexus Escondido. Here's meteorologist Matt Balo.
So peaceful and serene. Looked like such a beautiful day to spend out at the lake.
I know.
Quite a crowded place.
A lot of people reaching for the Claritin today, though.
I can imagine that. We're going to see temperatures that'll be a little bit warmer as we head towards the end of the weekend. With the cooler conditions that we've got, that's not going to help with the blooms and the mold and all the grasses and things like that. Conditions outside right now looking pretty good here as we head towards this evening. A little low cloud cover is trying to get going along the coastline. That's a live picture from our News 8 Skycam. 72 is the temperature, though. It's pretty nice out there. The wind out of the southwest at 8, the relative humidity at 64%. The barometer currently falling. It reached 29.88 inches. Temperatures have been mostly in the low 70s along the coastline. Upper 70s right now inland, and that's where it should be most of this afternoon and into this evening. However, as we get towards tomorrow, some unsettled weather is on the way. A risk of thunderstorms develops as early as tomorrow morning, but really into tomorrow afternoon into Thursday. And it looks like that unsettled weather is expected to be around for about that 36-hour period. That unstable air, it's going to be everywhere around the county. So really the risk of thunderstorms is not going to be limited to the East County, out in the mountains and deserts, as we typically have with summertime thunderstorm activity. This low pressure system could give you a thunderstorm kind of anywhere around the county. And heavy rain is not going to be the issue here. It'll be lightning strikes more than anything else. Most San Diegans will stay dry. You probably won't even get any thunderstorm activity. However, the risk starts tomorrow for some of that around the county. The low clouds, they'll be out there as well. That low cloud deck expected to solidify pretty nicely overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. And then the partly cloudy skies tomorrow as this low pressure starts to swing in here from out of the northwest. Then tomorrow evening, that marine layer redeveloping once again. Temperatures, well, they'll stay mostly in the 70s tomorrow and low 80s to mid 80s, I think, inland. Then getting a little bit warmer towards Thursday and Friday into the weekend. Then you'll also see a good chance for some of that muggy weather to return as we get towards the weekend and beyond. You can always get the latest 8-day microclimate forecast for your neighborhood, as well as my latest weather updates on Twitter.com, just by clicking on our website there at cbs8.com/weather. But the potential for lightning strikes tomorrow, there might be a couple of them around, and as we've seen, you need to take extra precautions when they are. So kind of keep an ear out there and an eye to the sky.
All right.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
It is time to find out what's ahead on the CBS Evening News.
Scott Pelley is in New York with a preview.
There's been another fatal police shooting in the St. Louis area today as police in Ferguson, Missouri appeal for peace. The region is still on edge. We'll have 2 reports. Plus, torrential rain and raging floodwaters in the desert southwest. We'll show you some dramatic rescues. Those stories tonight on the CBS Evening News.
The Chargers have plenty to work on as their next preseason game comes around. Kyle's up next, and you'll hear from Phillip Rivers.
Plus, this one made me cry. A Little League coach gives his kids a speech they'll never forget. Kyle has that as well next.
Think about that.
Now, CBS News 8 Sports with Kyle Kreska.
Okay, so we're still in the preseason. Bring on the next game, I say.
Yeah, each one should be a learning experience, right? I mean, if you do everything,
some things to learn.
If you do everything perfectly in preseason, there's nothing to work on, right? And certainly after that last game, the Chargers have a few things, more than a few, to work on. And if Charger head coach Mike McCoy seemed a little bit short during today's post-practice news conference, we certainly can cut him some slack. His boys did get rather beat up last Friday night in Seattle in that 41-14 loss. And with the third preseason game fast approaching Sunday up in San Francisco, big roster decisions are as well. And as for quarterback Philip Rivers, having a short memory is his antidote. He's already looking forward.
It's not the first time we've lost in the preseason, first time we've not played great collectively, and I know nobody's overreacted. We've reacted in a way that, hey, let's have a sense of urgency and let's have a great week of preparation and practice and get ready to go put a better performance next week, but we're still 0-0.
Hear, hear. Meanwhile, our San Diego Padres resume a 10-game road trip up in Los Angeles tonight. So far, 4 games in. They've lost 3 of the 4, all of them to the St. Louis Cardinals. First pitch tonight, 7:10. We'll have all the highlights for you tonight on CBS News 8 at 11 o'clock. Cumberland, Rhode Island was eliminated from the Little League World Series yesterday in a close 8-7 loss to Chicago. But it's what happened after the game that's being talked about today. Coach David Belisle delivered an emotional and inspiring speech to his young players, imploring them to be proud and to shed a tear for only one reason.
You're going to take that for the rest of your life, what you provided for a town in Cumberland. You had the whole place jumping, right? You had the whole state jumping. You had New England jumping. You had ESPN jumping, okay? Because want to know why? They like fighters. If everyone would play baseball, okay, like the Cumberland Americans, okay, this would be the greatest game. Okay, it's okay to cry because we're not going to play baseball together anymore. But we're going to be friends forever, okay? Friends forever. And our Little League careers have ended on the most positive note that could ever be. I love you guys. I'm going to love you forever. And you've given me the most precious moment, okay, of my athletic and coaching career. I'm getting to be an old man. I need memories like this. I need kids like this, okay? You're all my boys, okay? You'll be the boys of summer, okay? So for the last time, we're going to try to suck it up and we're going to yell Americans, okay? 1, 2, 3. Americans! Okay, boys, good job.
Oh, my goodness.
Right?
You know what got me? It was a beautiful speech. I sat in my office. I cried. I tweeted about it right away. I believe from the bottom of my heart he meant every word of that because they know they're mic'd, these coaches, but that was beautiful. And the kids didn't break eye contact with him most of them the whole time he was talking.
Everything he said,
so clearly he was one of those really positive influence coaches. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's what those boys had, and it was pretty special.
And he brought up a really important point to them because all of those boys realized the finality of not only losing that game, but knowing that that's the last time they were going to play together and play with him as a coach. So
big impact.
Yeah, what a great message.
Life-changing. Thanks so much, Kyle.
The heartache of Little League. A microclimate forecast update next.
Coming up, after a night of violence, looting, and arrests, a new fight to bring peace to Ferguson, Missouri. Plus, can security forces keep ISIS at bay after taking back a critical dam? We go to the battle. Coming up on the CBS Evening News with Scott Pelley.
New on CBS News 8 at 6:30, the package that was dropped off at a substance abuse treatment facility in Carmel Valley that caused a big scare. Plus, see how the Ice Bucket Challenge is hitting the South Bay. And the public is getting its first peek at 2 rare snow leopard cubs. Gorgeous. That's at 6:30.
I still need to do that Ice Bucket Challenge. I've got 2 friends that challenged me, but the weather's pretty nice in San Diego. No excuses here.
She's offering.
We're happy to help you, Marcella. If you need that. And the weather has been pretty nice for it. Temperatures today a little cooler around the county today by 5 to 7 degrees. We still had some 70s along the coastline, lots of 80s inland, 70s up in the mountains, very pleasant there, and a little warmer out in the desert, but that's the only spot that was warmer than yesterday. Some thunderstorm activity is on the way. An update on that's coming up on News 8 here at 6:30.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks, Matt.
The CBS Evening News is next.